Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Today, I am joined by some very inspirational and lovely ladies that I've gotten the pleasure to meet and work with. And I'm really excited to bring them onto the podcast today because they've truly, like I said, inspire me every time we get together and have a conversation, and just seeing the content and all the work that they do and put out into the world. So, first, I want to just allow them to introduce themselves and kind of share who they are and what they do. And yeah, go ahead, whoever wants to start.
Okay, let me start. Uh, my name is Oksana. I live in a country in another part of the world from Gabby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working at the bank, at the global bank for now, as an expert for inclusive services. And what I'm doing now is monitoring and helping to give adaptation to inclusive services in the bank. First, I was involved in digital accessibility, but now I have some projects related to that. But mostly, I'm working with offline services, how to serve persons with different disabilities at in the offices, and how to teach clerks and all the staff, and also how to work with the call center, how they help, how they could assist the right way. And actually, in my spare time, I love listening to the music, singing, hiking, watching the movies, meeting with my friends, and enjoying my life. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Oksana.
Hi, my name is Anne Mock, and I live just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I would call myself an accidental content creator. I'm definitely an advocate and a recent TEDx speaker. I advocate for the blind and visually impaired community. And I met Gabby, Steph, and Oksana through Bold Blind Beauty. Um, I love these ladies. They inspire me every day, inspire me to be a better person. And yeah, it's just been a great um, relationship that I've had with them. I've learned a lot over the last couple of years being a content creator, learned so much about the community and even about my own experience with disability. And yeah, just looking forward to enjoying more and chatting with you guys all here on the podcast.
Thank you, Anne.
Hi, Gabby. Thank you so much for inviting us on your podcast. My name is Stephanie McCoy. I go by Steph, and I'm the founder of Bold Blind Beauty. I'm a writer. Apparently, I'm a video editor, audio editor, uh, content creator, all of these things that I began learning how to do after I retired from one of the big four accounting firms, to be able to pursue my passion for advocacy. I refer to myself as an abilities crusader, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm an advocate. The focus for me, of course, is always on what we can do versus what we can't do, and talking about the capabilities of not just blind and visually impaired people, but people with disabilities on the whole. My dog Woody here is also with me. He's sitting in the chair with me, so he may pop up his head from time to time. But I am so honored to be in the company of these amazing women. When you talk about, empowering one another, lifting up one another, I couldn't ask to be among a better group of supportive people, and it's just such an honor to be here. So thank you so much.
Of course, I'm really happy that I've gotten the chance to meet all of you, and just being able to have this, what I like to call the community within our community, and being able to know that we can inspire one another, lift each other up. And I'm really glad that, I get to just have you all, and like know that you all like are just wonderful people that are inspirational and doing amazing things, and that is really super empowering. So before we continue with the rest of the podcast, I do want to say that, you know, it's so important that we have these women that I've gotten to know, in my in the blind community, because I think there's often this idea of not having, that support, and sometimes people feel like they don't have the support from other people, or people that can kind of mentor them and guide them. And so today's topic, I really wanted to talk about just sort of that. And if the ladies feel comfortable talking about their journey with vision loss and how that's impacted them. So if Anne, if you want to start out, maybe sharing a little bit about your journey with vision loss.
Sure. When I realized that I was losing my vision, it was very lonely and very isolating. There wasn't anyone that I knew that was going through vision loss. My diagnosis is called cone rod dystrophy. It's a rare inherited genetic eye condition. There isn't anyone in my family that has it. Growing up, I didn't see anybody with vision loss or encountered anyone with that. And especially in the Asian community.
Yeah.
I didn't encounter that. Family didn't talk about disability as well. It was often hidden. Even though I grew up very westernized here in Canada, it was still something we didn't talk about. And in school, we really didn't encounter much or talk about blindness for sure. Traveling on transit, I didn't encounter it either. So I really didn't know, number one, how to interact with those with low vision or blindness. Hadn't really seen anyone with a white cane or a guide dog. So with my diagnosis, there was a lot of the stigma that was in my thoughts, and I was scared. And I didn't have anyone to turn to or talk to about it. And I was in the middle of my career at that time and raising my children. And I hid my blindness for a long time, trying to fake sightedness at work. And I had a white cane, identity cane, that I just hid in my backpack. And I would take it out as far away from work when I left work as possible. And I would use it then. But then people didn't know what an identity cane was. And they just didn't know how to react to me either.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just held it in front of you, and people didn't understand. You can see, but you can't see.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I started connecting with CNIB and attending counseling sessions that I started to connect more with others and kind of let go, and the tears started to flow, that there was connection coming. But suddenly I became very sick with chronic illness, and so I had to leave my job. But I just disclosed actually to my employer that I was losing my vision, so I had moved to a desk position, when before I was actually a nursing assistant in the procedure room. So, and yeah, that was definitely a shocker to people that I was doing my job and doing it very well, actually. So once the pandemic hit and I was at home a lot, I started to connect through social media. And that is where community really helped me. And that is where my mentors came into place. Meeting staff through Bold Blonde Beauty really helped me to find other women who were not only surviving, but they were thriving. And I loved it because that's what I needed. And that's what I needed to move forward. And I knew if they could do it, I could do it too. And that's what I wanted to show to other women. It's like, we can do this. You know what? I can have a white cane and I can go forth and I can thrive in this world. And I'm still the same person, but I'm actually even better because I've now accepted my vision loss, but I've actually found that I'm meant to be the person that I was supposed to be. And it's through the vision loss community that I've connected with so many people who just empowered me and given me the inner strength to keep moving forward one step in front of the other. And, they've told me that I've empowered them. So I feel like our strength just keeps growing. And it's exciting to see each of us thriving. Like someone who felt that they didn't want to pick up their white cane is now picking up their white cane. Someone who was afraid to put their face on camera or talk on camera is now going on camera. And seeing that confidence like really come through is so exciting. Yeah, and I just love that community and connection where we can all lift each other up. And that's all it takes is just to reach out and just give each other virtual hugs and high fives.
I love that. I really do. Your story is definitely really moving because I think a lot of the time in our community, there's this like, from people that are not in it, they try to look at it and say, okay, all of them are doing the same thing, moving through life the same way, experiencing the same things. But I think that is just a true way of showing that that's not true. As Steph and Oksana share their stories, I think it's important to note that there's not one way of existing in this community. You don't have to, your journey is different and you might meet at the crossroads where you're like, oh, you might have experienced a similar thing, or you might be going through this new lifestyle of adjusting to your blindness, but that doesn't mean that we we're sharing this experience of blindness, but where we met and how we got to connect with one another is because of our different journeys, and then kind of combining to create this, right? Like to create a group like this, to create just kind of those moments. And so I really love what you said, because that's really important to just remember that not everyone in this community is the same, and we're moving through life differently. The way Anne might have moved through her journey is different from other blind and low vision individuals. So thank you for sharing that, and I really appreciate that, and I'm happy that you were able to find the comfort that you needed in a time where it kind of felt like, you know, how do I adjust? How do I kind of move through this lifestyle when people are like, with the whole identity cane, and not really noticing that that was what it was, right? So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah. And I definitely have to say, um, just when we take the time to listen to each other's stories, like it really opens our minds to everything that's going on. And that's each of our stories are so valid because when we realize like there's so much going in all of our lives and we can all connect at different points, but yeah, everybody has a different story and a different aspect to what they're going to, and it can really help all of us to see what's going on around us.
Yes, I agree 100%. Okay. Um, Steph, Oksana, do either one of you want to go next?
I can go next.
Okay.
This is Steph. Thank you.
Mhm.
My sight loss story is a little different than Ian's, as it was something that came on suddenly. At least that's the story that I've been telling um, these past few years. In actuality, I was born visually impaired. Um, I just, the last few years have begun to acknowledge that that is what probably contributed to the situation that happened very suddenly. So what happened, I came home from work. I was um, taking out my contact lenses like I always do in front of the mirror. I took out one of them. And so the left one was still in my left eye. And when I looked in the mirror, my face was gone. I couldn't see my face at all. It was just gone. And I'm looking at the reflection that I couldn't see. And I thought, oh my God, my blood pressure medicine. There's something wrong. So I took out the contact and I didn't think any more of it. I called my doctor the next day and I said, I think there's something wrong with my medication because, and I explained what happened. They said, no, you need to see an ophthalmologist pronto. So I got an emergency appointment and found out that what happened was a macular hole had developed in my left eye. The only reason that I could see that macular hole was
Mhm.
because I had that contact lens in that eye. Had I not had that contact lens in that eye, I don't know when we would have found out that I was, losing vision. So what my condition was high myopia. High myopia is extreme nearsightedness. Extreme nearsightedness can pose problems for people because the eye in a person who is nearsighted is very long. It's elongated like a football. And at the back of the eye is the retina. So what happened in my situation, um, the hole in the macula, which is responsible for central vision, essentially it just disintegrated. When I was referred to a retina specialist who told me that he could fix it, he said there was a very, very high likelihood, in a high 90 percentile chance of restoring sight in that eye. Unfortunately, the first surgery didn't work and he had to repeat it a few months later. The surgery itself was a little bit gnarly. It involved injecting a gas bubble into the eye, and I had to keep my head down for several weeks so that the gas bubble could seal the hole at the back of the eye. Gosh, the entire process of losing my vision, while it started sort of suddenly, lasted a 4-year period. It happened in both eyes. A number of different unrelated issues also occurred. And today, the remaining sight that I have left, I still have a little residual sight. As we know, blindness is a spectrum. And with my remaining sight, I can no longer see the eye chart. So they measure it by finger counting or hand waving. In my left eye, I have no usable vision. My right eye, I have no usable vision. My left eye is the one that does the heavy lifting. So, that's, essentially how I, went through that process of losing sight. I became legally blind in 2009. That was when I had my final appointment at Cleveland Clinic. And, they said, unfortunately, they weren't sure exactly what caused it. They think that the high myopia is a contributing factor. But to this day, I still don't have a solid answer for why the macular holes developed, why the retinal tear developed. Well, actually, the retinal tear was because of the high myopia. Um, but it was, like Anne said, it was very lonely. and isolating. I felt depressed, and I couldn't find any support groups or anything. So what I eventually did, I did find a group here in Pittsburgh, that is affiliated with the American Council for the Blind. And I just immersed myself within that group on the local and state levels. And that's when I was able to accept my blindness and see that it was possible to continue navigating the world in a different way. And,
Yeah.
you know, the people that I've met and how they've, I looked at them and what they're doing and how they're continuing to thrive. And I said, I want that. I want what they're doing. And so that's led me to where I'm at today.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Like I was saying before, like everyone's story is different, and how you move through that experience, how you just in general experience those feelings and adjustment periods, like that is essentially, I think, what can really like be the thing that inspires us to keep moving forward, or to just sort of figure out how to move through those moments of, wow, this is difficult. How do I adjust? How do I kind of live with this new lifestyle that I've never experienced before, right? Like that's the major thing I think that is not often talked about, because oftentimes we don't really share that. Those, like, of course sharing our stories is so important, but I think experiencing those moments of hardships in those moments is what really can push us to seek whatever it is that we need in order to continue to live our lives and continue to show up for ourselves in our day to day. And also it's one of those things where you just sort of are adjusting, like I said, and that's different in its own way. So, Steph, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing your story. I I know it's gonna definitely inspire other people, because more people that are in this community, that are new to the community and sort of new to blindness, don't always have someone that is either in their family that's experienced it, or someone that they know that's kind of helping them to feel like, oh, I can relate to this person, or I can relate to this experience. So I think just like sharing those were really, really helpful. So thank you.
So is it my turn?
Yep, it's your turn.
Okay. So, first, ladies, when I was listening to your stories, although I heard Steph's story, it really touched my heart. Really,
Yeah.
I don't know, I felt so mixed feelings, and it's hard to describe. Anyway, my story is quite simple, and I am the kind of on another side of the board or whatever, because I simply have been blind since my birth. So
Mhm.
this is a different way. Unfortunately, I cannot pronounce my diagnosis because I don't know how it sounds in English.
Mhm.
Forgive me that.
It's okay.
Anyway, I know for sure that unfortunately, none of the doctors could do anything about that so far. Anyway, I have a lot to tell you. I mean, when I was a little girl, I remember when I started to understand what it means when I hear the word blind, like from uh, persons from my relatives. Not they didn't want me to hear that, but I could hear that.
Yeah.
I remember when my parents brought me to different clinics to the doctors, and I guess I know what kind of words I heard from them. I mean, they heard from them, and they were really, really upset. Actually, I will tell you a very sincere story because I remember when I remember that myself, that my father was crying sometimes when we were walking. He was walking together with me, and sometimes he took my hands and he was crying. I didn't know why. I couldn't understand that. And then the time passed by, and I went to a school for the blind. I graduated from a special school for the blind, but I don't feel sorry for that. Sorry about that, because we were prepared to life. First, my parents prepared me to life. And once I asked my parents, could you please tell me, my mother actually, how did you raise me? How was it? What did you count on? What did you lean on? And my mom told me, we were raising you as a usual child because we didn't know anything how to do that and how to raise you in a special way. And I think it's thanks to God that they didn't know that. Otherwise, I couldn't be who I am. And I liked this hybrid format when I went to school and I was among the community. We had different experience. We had sports, we had cooking, we had lots of activities. And I had two youngest brothers, and we had different activities with them as well. I had friends whenever I came to my grandmom's house in a village. So you can understand, you can imagine what it was. But honestly, I was upset that I didn't have a communication in my neighborhood for quite a while till I was 15 because I was in a school and I came only for Saturday and Sunday. And then let's skip this time. Actually, I left my parents' house when I was 20. And actually, as people say, you got used to that situation. Yes, I got used to this situation, but it took me a lot of work, and it took my mom a lot of work to do because she taught me how to cook, how to wash my clothing, and all that stuff. By the way, I had an appointment at the doctor's appointment in the United States in the age of 18, and I had 3 appointments one by one. And the doctor said that there is nothing we can do. At that time, I was really depressed. I remember I came to the dormitory and I was crying because I was really upset about that. What I feel now, actually, now, let's say if someone would tell me you could have a surgery and you would be able to see, I don't think I would agree for surgery. For surgery, because I am scared for my health. Who knows? Maybe they would break something else and repair my eyes and break something else. But I see my mission as an educator, as a trainer, because I've been working for DPO, Disability People Organization, for 8 years, and we had we lead different trainings, quests, and every time I come and tell business staff at different business companies, at the universities, I was talking to students, I was talking to different people, and they were saying, "Oh, wow, you're motivating us." I said, "Okay, if so, let it be." And I am, as you can see, I am open-hearted and open-minded person, and I try to think positive and to bring this positive and to charge and recharge people. And sometimes I tell them about using gadgets with screen readers and all that things. They are surprised, and sometimes it helps people who cannot, who, for instance, lost their sight, and they don't know where to move. And so this is it. And some of people say, why don't you create a blog or whatever? Because I said, oh gosh, there are many people who create blogs, and there are millions of blogs of blind persons in different tones, tone of voice. Every situation is unique. So it means that you have to continue. Maybe, I don't know, maybe when I am retired, I would do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for sharing all of your stories and how it's impacted you today and as you move through your life and the experiences and just kind of connecting with other people. I think that's really beautiful to hear each perspective and each point of view and how all three of you have adjusted to living your life with the different, eye conditions and different levels of blindness. So I appreciate you sharing those stories. I want us to kind of talk about how you all feel about support, like just women supporting each other in this community, and in general, and just kind of what your thoughts on that. Because to me, I feel like it's important that we have the people in our corner that support us, because oftentimes we'll feel really down about the experiences we're going through or a moment in time that like really is kind of just stuck in our head. And I think making sure that we have people in our corner that are there to support us is really special. I specifically say women supporting other women because there's actually 4 women in this group. One of them wasn't able to come today, but um it's to me, I find that it's important to have things like this because we're able to share these stories and these moments, and experiences and kind of say, oh, I experienced that at one point in time and this is what I learned from it, or here's what I can suggest that would be helpful to kind of move through what you're going through. And so that's why I really believe in women supporting other women, because I think in society there's this idea that we have to compete with one another or kind of like go against like one another, because even if we're not going into the same field or talking about the same things, there's still this idea of, oh, let's just kind of place these women against each other, like to kind of go against each other. And so I very much believe in the strength of women supporting women because of just having that understanding of, yeah, we're both female. We can both talk about the experiences and the day-to-day things that we've experienced and come up with a solution to help one another. And even pertaining to blindness in this community, kind of seeing how that plays a role in how we are able to move through the world and influence other people. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Sure, I would like to go first if that's okay. This is
Of
Steph.
course.
Um, I'm a great believer in the power of unity and collaboration. Um, from a personal level, competition to me, the only person I compete against is myself.
Right.
And it's wild how I do that, but I just, it's about really coming together and uplifting one another. And you're right, it's so important for women to do that for each other. There was a young woman I saw on social media the other day who was basically putting older women on blast. And she said, you older women shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be wearing that or whatever. And this other woman, who is a woman, I think she's around her 50s or something, she has this really sharp hairstyle and her hair is like blue or purple. She changes the colors, but it's very, very sharp and very becoming. And she said, hey, sister, young sis, older sis, coming at you with a little bit of advice. And she reminded her how, none of us, we don't know what we don't know. And, we have to be very careful about making blanket statements, especially when it involves a group of people. The isms, ageism, racism, religionism, that's not a thing, but I just made it up. But all of the isms that are negative, that divide people, these things are man-made. And, we can make the choice to divide or to unify. And I just have always been a great believer in unification. I just think that there's so much power in it. And especially if we're talking about disabilities, and because we are blind women, blindness specifically, it's a hard journey to travel.
Yes.
It's a very difficult when you're doing it by yourself, but when you're doing it with other people who are like-minded, it becomes a little easier, right? And
Yeah.
so, coming together, and as Oksana said, what I love about her, she truly is an educator.
Yeah.
Education and building awareness and helping people to understand that blindness is a spectrum, just like humanity is a spectrum. If we can just remember that our differences can be made to connect us as opposed to divide us, I think that there's just great power in that.
I agree 100% because it's so true everything you said, and that's just such a powerful thing to see and to try to build up. And that's why I always like to tell people that I encounter that are like looking for support and trying to find a way to move through the things that they're experiencing. I always try to say, like, find the people within your community, in your neighborhood, that you can kind of say, oh, I can relate to this person because we've shared this experience, but maybe they can bring something to this conversation that I didn't know previously, which is why I love when the four of us get together because we can talk about different things and all of us bring different ideas to the table that we're able to say, "Oh, I didn't think of that before. I didn't think that that was a possibility," because, sometimes we're so in our heads about what we're experiencing or what we're trying to do that we don't really say, "Oh, like, let me think of it in a different way. How do I move through this differently?" And so when you have groups like what we have and building up communities and being able to support each other, you're able to say, well, Steph told me something today that really stuck with me and that I'm really going to carry with me, or and said something or posted about something that really moved me to, you know to just be inspired and to think about it in this way, and so on and so forth. So I just love that and sharing those things. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think I should continue to mix us up, to make a different order. Actually, first, what I want to say is our community, the Insight Through Inclusion and the Bold Blind Beauty, is a really safe place, and I really appreciate all of you, ladies, for what you are, because one day I decided, okay, because of different time zones, I think I should have a little break, maybe to think what I need, what just to be excluded, to exclude myself, to suspend myself for a little bit from the community. And I felt such sincere emotions from you, and I really appreciate that, because we are ladies community, and it's obvious we are a great community. And
Mhm.
also, I would like to give some business examples. I had a big conflict at my workplace, and now I'm working mostly with ladies. I mean, men, for some reasons, men consider me as a competitor, as a person who want to beat them or to compete with them. I don't want, but I felt it at two places where I worked. And now my team is great, and I'm working with ladies, and we had a great meeting at the cafe last Friday, and it was so beautiful. We were talking, sometimes we were saying some cursely words. Yeah, it happened. But anyway, we were together, and it felt that we are glad and we are sincere to each other. And now the situation about digital accessibility specialists, the example, I would say, there are some digital accessibility specialists here, but they are mostly men. And I had to work with them. I had to argue with them, and sometimes we had to yell at each other. And one day I was listening to a webinar led by one of the ladies. She is working at the organization, and she is a professional programmer. She has a technical education. And I was listening to her, although I am an accessibility specialist, I was listening to her and I was thinking to myself, oh wow, she is so cool. She is speaking in such a cool way. She explains everything. She is explaining everything in such an easy way, in such a professional way. And I sent her a message in the chat saying, "Okay, let us just be friends. Let us introduce each other." To each other. And we had a short introduction. We started to exchange voice messages. And now we organized 3 events in December. Yeah, they all were in November and December. And it was so good atmosphere. And we were enjoying, and we could negotiate each time. We had some questions. We negotiated well, and we were like talking, like joking. Okay, we will beat all the men together. So women, no one would support women better than a woman. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you for sharing that, Oksana.
Hi, this is Anne. As a creator especially in Instagram, there's not a lot of blind and visually impaired creators, and women too. So it's really important, and I make a really big point of making sure that I connect with all the other creators and really engage with them, comment on them, and support them. I think it's imperative that I and we all support each other, because the message is pretty much the same. We can all go about it different ways, but we want the message and the movement to get out there. And I think it's important to support each other, and for me to go out and support each of them, whether it's liking, commenting, sharing posts. I think it's very important, because the more you engage, the more you help them out, each other out, and they can get partnerships with brands and companies to get the blind and visually impaired community out there to be getting those partnerships. I think is incredible. So the more that we support each other, the more that we're all out there, and the more that we're all winning. So that's my purpose and my goal, is to help other female creators in the blind and visually impaired community get out there. I've also been making a big point of networking in my local community with other female entrepreneurs, and that's really to break down that invisible dividing line that she's a disabled blind woman.
Right.
Do I support her? Can she support me? Absolutely. Yes. It can go both ways. And they're often very surprised, because I'm a big cheerleader of anybody. It doesn't matter if it's my niche, your niche, whatever. And it's led to great connections and collaborations and great friendships. So it's breaking down those walls and those barriers that are invisible, but there might be in people's minds, that there is no dividing line between visibility and um, non-disabled, and sighted versus non-sighted, because we're all the same. So that's my little mission in life.
That's beautiful. It really is, because I think once we're able to support each other, it makes everyone feel good, because you're able to say, oh, like I'm able to make this connection, collaborate with this person, and I'm able to grow as a person and also help them in a way that maybe, you know, it'll eventually be something that teaches me and helps me to learn along the way. And I think that's really special to see, because I definitely always see your posts, and I think it's important that we continue to build one another up and not tear each other down and not feel
Exactly.
like there's this negative idea about supporting each other. And like Steph says, everyone is temporarily abled.
Yes,
So that's
exactly.
just a big thing. So yeah.
Yeah. We're the biggest club that anyone can join. So you know
Yes.
what?
No, exactly. Um, but yeah, I love hearing your stories. I love talking to you ladies all the time. And just kind of sharing these ideas and experiences and being able to say, hey, Anne, you have any suggestions on how I can do X, Y, and Z? Or Steph, do you know anything about this, that, and the third? And and Exana, like, is there any way you can, tell me about this? And so I think that's really, really important to find a way, even if you're at a point in your life where you're feeling stuck or you're feeling like something's not working out for you the way that you originally wanted it to. I guarantee you that if you look outside of yourself and you look into the neighborhood around you, like what Anne said, where she's able to network with fellow female entrepreneurs, and you're able to kind of see what you were able to discover. I think that'll be the greatest thing, because it's able to teach you and allow you to network, allow you to build friendships, allow you to kind of just not be in your head a lot, right? And that's, like, I always tell you ladies, like, that's the biggest thing I feel like I struggle with is I'm always in my head. I overthink every situation. So when we're able to be in the chat and I'm able to say, hey, this past week was really exhausting and I just need to figure out how to do this. And then, Steph will say, hey, like, I totally understand how you're feeling. And that's even just having someone tell you, I understand how you're feeling.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
even the greatest feeling, to know that you're not alone in what you're
Yeah.
experiencing.
Exactly. Yeah. To not be
Absolutely.
alone.
Absolutely. For instance, I'll give you an example. I have a lady who I'm close with. She lives in another country, but I had a bad day at my workplace. And I sent her a message saying, like, describing what's going on. And she was asking, do you want a support call? I said,
Yeah.
wow, I think it's a
Okay.
great idea, but maybe I don't want to use your time resource. You could just type me a couple of words of support. So the person wanted to support with a call. It's just precious.
Yeah. That means a
Yeah,
lot.
it
It
does.
is, especially in this digital environment where a lot of the communication is done by writing back and forth. I actually
Mm-hmm.
had a young woman who we recently featured on Bold Blind Beauty. She had sent me an email, and on reading the email, I realized that there were some heavy things going on with her. And so I responded back and said, are you available to talk live? And she
Yeah.
was floored. She was absolutely floored that I did that. She said, who does that? And I'm like, well, because empathy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
empathy
Absolutely.
is, it's almost like a dinosaur anymore, but people are really, really surprised when you see somebody actively demonstrating empathy. When you're
Mm-hmm.
able to, that's why I'm always saying it's so important to listen,
Yes.
Mhm.
And
more
to read
so than
between the
talk.
lines.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And
Exactly.
when you're actively listening, you pick up on those things. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in today's world, so many people are talking. And for introverts, I'm an introvert, a diehard introvert. And so the chatter actually makes my head want to explode. It's just too much. So I'm really good at listening. So when somebody says something to me, even if it's a text message and it sounds a little off, I want to reach out and talk to that person because I want to make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No? And you just
Of
can't
course.
do that by continuing to have a conversation by email or text.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, like, I remember the other day, I mean, it was a meeting that me and Steph had because I wanted to talk to her about some things, but sometimes I'll just text and be like, Steph, are you free? I've been thinking about this thing and I don't know how to really like move forward and I'm feeling kind of stuck, or I just need someone to vent to. And she'll be like, yeah, of course, give me a call and we'll talk for like an hour. I feel like, and sometimes a half an hour, and I'll just be able to say, so this is what's going on, this is how I'm feeling, and like just kind of put it all out there, put it on the table, and just kind of say, how do I move through this thing? How do I continue to, use my voice in this community when sometimes you don't feel like you're seeing the results in what you're putting out? Because that's recently how I've been feeling. That's why for a few months I had stopped creating content. And as some of the people, like, if you listen to the podcast, like, you'll know for a few months I wasn't putting out mental health content. I wasn't even writing for Bold Blind Beauty. I didn't write a lot of content for Bold Blind Beauty because I just always, especially the ending of 2023, I was in this mindset of I don't want to force anything that I put out. But I also, I want to continue to use my voice, but it's sometimes hard because you feel like you're screaming into a void and you're
Yeah.
not really seeing the results come through. And so that's why I think just please, like, women, find the people that you need to find, because once
Yes.
you do, you'll realize that you don't have to keep wasting time on trying to do the things by yourself or be around the people that aren't lifting you up and genuinely supporting you and your adventures, because that's not that doesn't help in any way, shape, or form. Like, when you're able to, and we've the only person I've met in real time is Steph. I haven't met Anne or Oksana yet, or the other lady, Alicia. I haven't met her yet either. But I just know that when we finally do get to meet in person, I'm really looking forward to it, because I just know, like, we already have a great connection
Yeah.
virtually. So
Yeah. We would all click
Yay.
very well.
Yes,
yeah,
And
definitely.
we started to be one step closer during recording of this podcast. I feel
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And these are the conversations we have when we're meeting for Insight Through Inclusion. So I was really like, I want to bring this to the podcast because, like I said at the beginning, they all inspire me. They all are the people that I look up to kind of say, I need some guidance. How do I do this? Like, even asking Steph, I was like, Steph, I don't know how to do the visual things for my content. She's like, hey, just let me know what I can help with, and I'll do my best. And even someone saying that is like a weight lifted off your
Oh yeah.
shoulders, because
Yeah.
as we all know, sometimes we feel like we have to carry these things ourselves. But I want to say one more thing. Don't ever feel like you're doing too much or you're asking for too much, because if someone makes you feel like that, then you're asking the wrong person.
Yes. It's true.
Agree.
Yeah. You find the people for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to add interdependence,
Mm-hmm.
because as humans, unless we're some sort of sociopath, psychopath, all of us are interdependent.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we look up to you too, Gabby. We admire you. We're
Yes,
I
very,
we
very
appreciate
proud
that.
of you. We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And wishing you luck. And I hope we'll have another podcast talking about another topic. And dear listeners, and whatever, whoever is watching the podcast, please give a feedback. Don't feel shy, because the feedback is very important for all of us, for Gabby and for all of us. And please send emails, text messages, or whatever, just to you will be able to help to find the right direction to develop the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Ladies, thank you so, so much for coming on and spending this time just talking and sharing these stories and these moments. I really, really appreciate it. Um, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
thank you
Bye
for
Gabby.
having
bye.
us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.